Good evening, Crazy Josh Cravey. I did watch your Halloween thriller 2013, Rise of the Zombie. And on Halloween night, I actually watched the movie World War Z. And why would I bring that up? Because when I watched World War Z, they made a horrible mistake that I'm glad you didn't make in yours. They listed just about every single company that had anything to do with that movie at the very beginning of that movie. You know, after about 5 minutes of that, I was about ready to shut the movie off. I wasn't scared. I was bored. Bored to tears. Okay, I was about ready to shut it off. But anyway, I'm glad you didn't do that with yours. And I hope as a movie maker, as you will become, you don't do that with your movies. Because you're going to lose your audience in about 6 seconds. I know this because more and more I rent from the Red Box. Yes, I do rent from the Red Box every once in a while. And when I rent these movies, that's what I see is so much introductory material that I just like to take the movie and throw it right out the window. Shoot, if books were made like this, nobody would ever read them. I guarantee it. Okay. So it's time to review your movie. You did a pretty decent job, I'll give you that. But these are the things that I thought about as I was watching the movie. You had a sport utility vehicle driving around. I didn't have a single idea where you were driving around. And I thought it would be very interesting if you'd have gone to the slightly extra effort of going to a junkyard or to a scrap yard, finding yourself a cheap used steering wheel and using that as your prop to drive. I did like the cigarette though. I don't know how you did that one, but that was clever. I have to give you that one. But anyway, the police officer stops your car. It is never explained in your entire video why he would initially stop the car in the first place, why he suddenly wanted to see what was in the back of your vehicle. I think it would have been interesting if you had actually designed a fake ID and had taken from your parents a used registration and used that as props in your movie. I think that would have been very interesting to have seen. So anyway, and so you escape from the police officer and you drive to a school. I've known a lot of people that have escaped police officers like that, but rarely would they actually drive to a school. I think that would be the last place you'd want to go if you were on the run from the law. Of course, what do I know? Anyway, the police officer shows up. Your character is hidden, and the police officer can't find him. What I found interesting was that the police officer didn't try to get into the vehicle, nor did the police officer impound the vehicle. Usually in situations like that, the police officer would first try to get into the vehicle, and then if unsuccessful, they would try to impound it. So anyway, now then, here's your main character. He's on the run from the law. He comes out, he finds out that he has locked himself out of the vehicle. Of course, this is after he has stolen a bunch of chemicals from a school. Now, when I was in school, we didn't exactly have chemistry sets in the elementary school. Now, I did go to a unit school where they had the elementary school, the junior high, and the high school all basically in the same building. Okay, and it went from left to right. The elementary school was on the left, the middle school was in the middle, and of course the high school was on the right. And the junior high and the high school did have chemistry products, but the elementary school usually didn't. Now, I know education has changed quite a bit. I had a friend of mine, her kids, I got a chance to tutor them, and what I tutored them on was stuff that even I didn't have when I was in high school. So I know education has changed quite a bit, but I'm sitting here going, chemistry, chemicals in an elementary school. Okay. But anyway, you get out there and you find out the car is locked. You can't get in. Yes, I have had that experience myself. I have locked myself out of my own vehicle. It is very distressful. That is why I have family members who actually have spare keys to my car. What I found interesting was that there was no spare key behind the license plate or underneath the car, or that you didn't pick up the phone and call one of your family members to have them unlock the car for you. I found that interesting. But your character runs into the school, to the elementary school library. Now, when I was a kid, there were no video cameras in the elementary school library. Okay? I understand that. But nowadays there are. And the security cameras didn't pick up your main character. And there was no librarian wandering around looking at all the aisles to see who was there. And there were no kids running around reading the books. I know that not every kid reads books, but there are some kids that do. And I was one of them when I was a kid. But no kids were reading any books at all? No kids ever found you? Here you are playing with stuffed animals. I'm sure that your character was getting hungry about this time, because after all, spending 7 hours in a school library, that would make anybody hungry. But there you go. So those were my thoughts. I will also say that if one is going to turn into a zombie, it would usually be some kind of a biological agent that would turn them, or it might be some kind of radioactivity. Now, I'm pretty sure that they don't have uranium in an elementary school. I could be wrong, but I don't think they have uranium in elementary schools. At least not a big enough supply to change anybody into anything. But that's where I was thinking, like, you know, why wasn't a biological agent used? Why wasn't a radioactive agent used to change the person? I don't know. And why did it take 7 hours to change that person? Well, the thing was, you know, you made this chemical mix, and you were worried about the stealing. What were you going to steal? That's never explained in the video either. So, there's a lot of stuff that I thought was, well, okay, they didn't explain this, you didn't explain this, you didn't explain that, so I'm like, okay. But anyway, those were my thoughts. Now, when you finally did the zombie transformation, that was cool. From that point on, it was cool. And I'm sure you put a lot of effort into this, and I'm glad you did it, and I do think you'll get some rave reviews out of this. But those were my thoughts, and hopefully maybe you'll think about this when you do future videos. You'll pay a little more attention to details, because it'll make your video a little more realistic and probably will get better attention. I don't know. But those are my thoughts. I'd like to see what you think. I am so glad you did not do like World War Z did. My gosh, that thing practically bored me to tears for most of the video. Not all of it, but for most of that movie, it was just downright boring. There were some exciting times, but a lot of it just drug on, and no horror flick should just drag on like that. Either have something of major suspense, or I'll tell you a classic example of World War Z and why it drug on so much. My gosh, we spent there nearly 20 minutes wondering what this dog was thinking about before the dog finally discovered the zombie. It shouldn't take that long. That's too long a suspense right then and there. And I'm glad you didn't do what they did. And if there was anything that you could get out of watching World War Z, it is just don't do what they did. That thing was pathetic. So, anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.